Welcome to the Daily Gospel of John. Glad you're watching. We're going to take a look at verses 20 through 22 in John 12. Now there were some Greeks among those who went up to worship at the feast. They came to Philip, who was from Bethsaida in Galilee, with a request. "Sir," they said, "we would like to see Jesus." Philip went to tell Andrew. Andrew and Philip in turn told Jesus. So these Greeks, Gentiles, were believers in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So in a sense they were converts to Judaism, and they were there for the Passover feast. But they had heard of Jesus. Word was spreading. They had heard of the miracles. They had heard that he is Messiah, and they wanted to meet him. And it's interesting that their desire to meet him comes a verse later than the Pharisees' ultimate rejection of Jesus and stating of their desire to have him put to death because he wasn't getting them where they wanted to go. And so quite a contrast there, which in a sense was prophetic as well. There would be a remnant of the Jews who believed and followed Jesus. All of the first followers of Jesus were Jewish. They were soon to be persecuted after the death and resurrection. They were persecuted and pursued from Jerusalem and had to flee to the surrounding nations. But when they fled to those nations, they took the good news of Messiah Jesus, and many of the Gentiles, Romans and Greeks and all others, wherever they went, soon became converts or followers of Jesus. And so it's very interesting, the timing of their desire to seek him. Remember, Jesus came first to the lost sheep of Israel. And that's not because he loves them more. Israel as a nation was God's chosen people. Abraham was the father of faith. And God promised Abraham to bless his seed, his descendants. And that through his descendants, all the nations of the world would be blessed through Messiah, that one particular descendant through whom all the nations of the world would be blessed. So there's a very special place in God's heart for the nation of Israel and the Jewish people. But we see even in the Old Testament, often there was a remnant of faithful followers of Jesus when often much of the nation was rejecting him. Only a remnant stayed faithful, and that was still the case here. But if you look at Romans 11, take time to look at Romans 11. It's a little difficult chapter to understand, but there we see that God has a plan for future Israel, and in a sense he has cut off part of the tree of Israel, grafted in the Gentiles to partake of that blessing of the root of Abraham and the law and the prophets in the Old Testament and of Messiah Jesus. But his desire is that he would once again graft his people back in, that all Israel would be saved, that all of Israel would come to recognize who their Messiah was, and that in a sense the faithful followers of Jesus who were Gentiles would so be a blessing in the world that they would provoke the Jews to jealousy, in a sense that they would miss their God. He never, ever in the New Testament does it give a hint of a trace of a thought that the Jews should ever be the objects of persecution from Christians. Only people that don't know the Bible would ever suggest such a thing. But God loves his people, and he will once again graft them in. And if you are a follower of Jesus, I hope that you pray for Israel and for the Jewish people. Well, thank you for watching. God bless.